Hello, homeschool friends. I'm Sabrina from SevenSistersHomeschool.com. How's it going? It's it's summertime, and I'm not sure if my video just started or if it started a few seconds ago because I got conflicting messages on my screen. So hello, homeschool friends. If I already said that, well, consider yourself welcomed twice. Welcome to this live, Facebook Live, and we're going to dig into a little bit of goal setting for homeschool high school today. Now, summer is when I'm actually streaming this, broadcasting this. And summer is the time of the year that we often do some work on goal setting for homeschool high school. Sometimes in the midst of an academic year, there's too much going on. There's too many flaming bowling pins that we're trying to juggle, and we don't have time to think about our long-range goals. That's why it's so important to do some work that results in having written goals somewhere. This does not have to be some perfectly crafted, proofread. You don't have to have complete sentences, okay? There's no rules for that. It doesn't have to be some amazing work of writing, but they need to be written down. And the reason why is because of those flaming bowling pins that you're going to be juggling through much of the year. When you are in the throes of Algebra 2, when you are in the throes of essays, when you are in the throes of foreign language learning, that's not the time that your head is clear enough to really focus on, okay, wait, what were some of the goals that I set for this year? You need to be able to refer back to what you thought through and articulated when you did have the headspace for it. So I don't care if you type them up on a document somewhere, if you put them on a note in your phone, if you write them out longhand and keep them in a journal, if you post them on the side of your refrigerator, if you put them in a special book that you put with portfolios and things like transcript materials and stuff so that you touch base with it maybe every month or every quarter, but you need written goals. And I'm going to encourage you to think way beyond what the high school transcript needs to have on it academically by the end of the 4 years of high school. It's important to have an overarching 4-year homeschool high school plan. And then within each year, these are our goals for freshman year. These are the things that we're really working toward. Definitely do goals by year. But what a lot of people skip is that 4-year idea, looking at all of high school and thinking, what are my goals for high school, for my teen? So obvious things are going to be that you want them to be solid academically, that if they're college bound, you have provided the kind of breadth and depth of coursework that is going to make them attractive to colleges that they would like to attend. You're going to want them, exposed to the kinds of people that are going to help them in networking, connections, that kind of stuff to pursue the colleges that they're going to be interested in, the field that they're considering studying for. You're going to want them to do career exploration. We talk about that a lot at Seven Sisters. One of the most important things that you can do during the high school years is some intentional career exploration work where you help your teen come to understand themselves well enough to have some pretty intelligent ideas about what might be a good career fit for them down the road. There's so much more than just what are you good at? What could you make a living at? There's a lot more in terms of how would this career affect my lifestyle? How would it affect the fact that I love to travel? My needs financially are very high, or my needs financially are very minimal. Those kinds of questions are not necessarily typical career exploration questions, and so doing some career exploration in high school is super important. But in addition to academic goals and career exploration goals and college prep goals, if you're college bound, I'm also going to just encourage you to think through what is the 7 areas that might not come up on your radar when you are goal setting for homeschool high school. Okay, first of all, let's talk about self-knowledge. This is a wonderful influencer in your career exploration work, but it's important just in general. So one of the first things is, does your teen understand how he or she learns best. We love the idea of our kids going on to be lifelong learners. We hopefully are striving to be lifelong learners ourselves and are attempting new things and reading new things and experiencing new things and learning about them. But knowing how we best learn is a really important tool, and developing a real firm understanding of that is a good goal to have for your teen by the end of high school, that they would know how to learn in a way that is going to work for them, in a way that's going to stick, that they would know how to find information that they don't easily have available to them, that they would know how to ask the kinds of questions that will further their learning in whatever it is that they're studying. So self-knowledge about how they learn, and self-knowledge about what brings them life and what costs them something. So we all know a fair amount about introverts and extroverts, right? It's not a matter of whether you can be friendly or not, or whether you're talkative or quiet. Introverts fill up their tank by being away from crowds. It's solitary activities and environments that fill them back up when they're feeling depleted. And then maybe they're super friendly introverts who then go and spend lots of that life energy on people on a regular basis. Extroverts will become depleted when they spend too much time in solitary environments and on solitary tasks, because they draw life, they fill up their tank from being with other people. So a lot of it is where do you find your life energy? Do you find it by yourself? Do you find it with people? So knowing basic introvert and extrovert things about yourself, but also knowing things like, are you a very emotionally sensitive person? Do you pick up on the moods of other people? Are you prone to people pleasing? Are you maybe sometimes insensitive and don't notice things about other people? Can you be a little bit blinders on? These kinds of things are going to make a huge difference in life across the board. And an awful lot of people are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s and still don't really know these things about themselves. And sometimes a lot of hurt can come from not knowing very much about yourself and how you're wired. It's not a good and bad thing. We're not talking about helping your kid identify all the weak areas in their lives that they need to work on because they're imperfect humans. It's about recognizing how they're wired and the fact that they are wired in a way that is different from how other people are wired. So self-knowledge is a good goal to include in your goals for homeschool high school. Adulting skills. Now this fortunately gets a lot more attention than it did for a time. Back in the day, traditional schools had home ec classes and had shop classes, and it was expected that you were going to learn some basic cooking, some basic sewing, some basic car repairs, some basic home repair. And that kind of went out of vogue for a couple of decades. And then in homeschooling, it wasn't, when I was first homeschooling my kids, let's put it that way, there wasn't a lot of talk about it. It was sort of assumed by a lot of people that your kids were just involved in those homemaking and homekeeping and home repairing activities. But not necessarily was it thought of as a part of your instruction. But that has really changed. And one of the things that is a really important piece of that, of course, is financial literacy. Understanding how your money is going to work and what you need to do to deal wisely with it. So shameless plug, if you have not yet chosen a financial literacy curriculum, look at financial literacy from a Christian perspective at sevensistershomeschool.com. Sarah Hibbert Hayes has written an excellent curriculum resource there. But understanding finances, understanding home repair, understanding cooking, understanding basic nutrition, understanding how to sew a button on, understanding how to change a flat tire, understanding what to do when you get a flat tire out on the road and don't have a spare in the car. All kinds of adulting skills, how to create a home repair maintenance or car repair and maintenance record keeping system, right? These kinds of things are adulting skills, and they are extremely important. And while your kid may pick up some of them by osmosis simply because they're living in your home and they're living alongside you and they're noticing things that you do, they also might not. They might not notice all that much about what you're doing that keeps a household running, that keeps meals magically appearing on the table. And so that sort of thing. Make it one of your goals that your kid will have a solid toolbox full of adulting skills by the time they graduate from high school. Communication and relational skills. This is sometimes called soft skills in the workplace. And that's, wow, it's a huge thing that is going to move your kid forward into adulthood and avoid a lot of missteps that could actually have pretty far-reaching, negative implications or whatever. So this is beyond just basic be polite. This is how to advocate for yourself respectfully and appropriately, whether that's with a boss or a professor or with somebody on a team for a project that you're working on together or roommates. How to look out for others and help in respectful ways, right? These are teamwork kinds of things that are so very important. There are concrete things like how to introduce yourself to someone, how to shake hands or not shake hands in a post-COVID world, how to navigate those things of how do you physically manage yourself in a room with strangers or with acquaintances where you don't know one another well yet and you're just beginning to build those things. Do you know how to complain about something respectfully and appropriately? Do you know how to apologize respectfully and appropriately? Everybody's wiring means that certain communication and relational skills come more easily to them than others. But identifying those areas that maybe aren't intuitive, that are more of a struggle, and working some practice into the years of high school can really poise your child for relational success in a variety of settings after high school. So consider communication and relational skills as one of your goals for homeschool high school. Work experience. So there are all kinds of different opinions on whether or not a kid should have a part-time job during high school, whether it interferes with their schoolwork or whether it augments it. There are all kinds of opinions about what kinds of work are a good fit for teens. And I'm not holding to any opinion on any of it. I'm just saying that by the time your kid graduates from high school, it would be good for them to have some kind of work experience, so that there has been some environment, whether it was volunteering at VBS or actually, working a normal job with set hours and paycheck and all that sort of thing, but where they're having to work in an environment that is not their home, where it's not the normal household rules and rhythms and expectations, but where they're answering to someone else. Really, really helpful. So to have some limited, safe experience with that through the years of high school, that can be a good goal. How about creative awareness? This is one that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but I personally think it's really important. Now, I'm an artsy person. I'm a creative person. I like music. I like drama. I am not a good visual artist, but I really enjoy dabbling in visual arts. And that is something that some people are naturally really drawn to. And so we know the kids that are, taking advanced piano lessons all through high school and are playing recitals. We have kids who are dancing. We have kids who are photographers. We have kids who are painting or drawing or who are singing, who are acting, and that's all great. But for the kids who aren't naturally drawn to it, I think it's a good homeschool goal to expose them to various kinds of creative and artistic environments, events, and supplies, for lack of a better word, to encourage them to become aware of the power of creativity and creative expression, whether that is artistic or whether it's just sort of out of the box, noticing things in nature in a very intentional way, being someone who can be positively impacted by beauty and creativity. And those are some things that can be lost, especially for people who are very STEM-minded, very wired for measurable and, like my lab tech husband. If that's your wiring, you may not naturally lean into the power of creativity and beauty and art. And so perhaps you want to set one of your high school goals that you will build creative awareness in your teen. Character development. Hopefully this is one of the reasons that you're homeschooling to begin with. You want the chance to be working an active part of your child's education, working toward the development of their character, who they are as a person, not just who they are as a student, right? Not just who they are as a scholar, who they are as a person. Looking toward integrity and perseverance and kindness and faithfulness. These are things that are really core, deep endeavors that they're going to be engaging in the rest of their lives. As they grow as a person, those things are going to deepen and become stronger and richer. But making our teens aware of that process, making them aware of how their character is developing, of how a situation can lead them into bitterness, or it could lead them toward forgiveness if they choose to pursue a path of forgiveness, right? When something hard and unfair happens to them. Walking through a really exciting time and realizing that that can lead to impulsivity, or it can lead to self-control. So these kinds of things, by setting a goal of intentional conscious character development as a part of our homeschool high school experience, we are helping we're not trying to develop our kids' character. We're helping them become aware of the fact that their character is developing and that they can be intentional and active in that process. And finally, worldview. Is it one of your homeschool high school goals that your teen would have the beginnings of a worldview? They're not going to have a complete worldview because that's something that continues to develop over the course of our lives. But they should at least be aware of worldview and how much it impacts things. In particular, everything that they're hearing through the news and social media, all of it, for better or worse, is influenced by the worldview of the person who is reporting on it or who is sharing it. So helping to begin to lay a foundation for their own worldview, helping them notice and understand other people's worldviews who are very different from theirs, rather than just dismissing something as, well, that doesn't make sense to me, that doesn't resonate, so I'm just not even going to look at it, but to instead be able to observe and understand what makes up a very different worldview. Really good goal for homeschool high school, that you would have a teen who has begun to understand worldview and lay a foundation for a solid worldview in their own life. So I hope that gives you some out-of-the-box ideas for thinking about goal setting. Just to recap, you could set a goal for a teen who has a fair degree of self-knowledge and who is going to continue growing in understanding how they're wired. A teen with adulting skills, with a nice packed toolbox full of basic life skills. With communication and relational skills, where they are able to both respect themselves and others, and to use words and actions and nonverbals to improve situations where they're working with others or living with others or whatever. Work experience of some kind that has them answering to somebody other than mom and dad, in some environment other than their very familiar home environment. Some kind of work experience can be a great goal. Creative awareness, in particular for our kids who are not naturally wired for the arts. Some sensitivity to and encouragement to notice the power of beauty and art and creativity. Character development, again, not to try to have a goal that they would have a perfectly formed, awesome sauce character by the end of high school. That's a tall order. But that they would be aware of the character development process that is going to happen within them for the rest of their lives, and that they would learn to notice the development of virtues or the temptation of vices as it's taking place and being lived out in their lives. And finally, worldview. Do they understand what makes up a person's worldview? Have they begun to lay a foundation for their own worldview? Are they able to look beyond the big, overwhelming, that's unfamiliar and I don't think it's right thing when they encounter a worldview that's very different than theirs? And are they able to understand what makes up that other person's worldview? There's some goals for you. If you have other goals that you'd like to add to this list, please do so. It is so helpful when we get lots of different ideas and different input. And remember, when you're setting 4-year goals for the 4 years of high school, this shouldn't be some horrible weighty thing that feels like it's dragging you down. These are things that are empowering. If you're wanting to include these types of learning for your teen over the course of the 4 years of high school, it's empowering because it's reminding you of why you're doing all the hard work to also teach them algebra at home, and also teach them essay writing at home, and also teach them foreign language at home, right? Some of those academic pieces, we sometimes feel like, wow, I don't know. I mean, do I really still want to be doing this? But when we look at those written goals that include things like character development, that include things like communication skills, wow, there's a really good reason that we're homeschooling for high school, because these things are going to get time and attention as well. These things are important for my teen. I want them to have more than just the academic learning when they graduate. So write them down. Put them someplace where you will look back at them multiple times over the course of a year, and watch your homeschool take on a much richer kind of success as you incorporate these kinds of goals alongside the academic goals. I hope that's helpful. If you are looking for more detailed ideas for how to write goals for homeschool high school, go to sevensistershomeschool.com. Go to the blog, search goals, or search 4-year plan, and see the blog posts that are there. There are a lot of great ideas to help you get your goals on paper. Talk to somebody else too. Share ideas. Process through this out loud. Post something on the Facebook group here and say, okay, so I'm working on my goals, and I'm kind of stuck with, I want to do something with this, but I don't know, I can't get it the way I want to capture it in words, and brainstorm with your other homeschooling friends here on the group. Okay, we do really well when we link arms, help each other, and learn from one another. Thanks for giving me a little bit of time today, and I look forward to talking with you about more homeschool high school topics in the future. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye.